Okay, this is Little Red, and I wanted to say hi. She's a 2-year-old, well, coming 3 pretty soon, officially, but I don't know when her birthday is, so unofficially she might be 3 in spring next year, but the Jockey Club looks at it that way for their own purposes. Anyway, fillies are definitely not, when you're taking them to their first time start and letting them know about their focus racing. She reminds me a lot of a filly I had. I was very fortunate to have. I had bred it from a Stafford Farms horse, Overcharger, who was a Grade 1 stakes horse, and I bred her to Fly So Free. And the year I bred her to Fly So Free, her half-brother, well, essentially half-brother, won the Dubai, the big one. Anyway, I was ecstatic. She was a precocious filly, and this filly reminds me a lot of her. As you go along in the years and decades, you have families, and you bring your library, each rider, trainer, coach, that's worth their salt, bring their library of a lot of horses. And what I mean by that is you'll have horses that remind you of other horses in similarities, not all together. Once in a blue moon maybe, but basically I'm grooming her to do her first time start this spring. And she's precocious, to say the least. She's a filly. I like her a lot. A lot of people don't like fillies when they go in and out of heat cycles. They are not like a colt, wham bam, thank you ma'am. Generally speaking, I've met, I had a nice Hawaii colt 30 years ago, Hawaii colt. I forget, out of a Gene Splicer mare or something. Anyway, he was more like filly demeanor. He took things personally or personalized them. And so a lot of colts don't. They just think it's one big game, and if a rider gives him a whack, they think, oh gosh, he likes me. Fillies are not like that. Anyway, she's been saddled and put around the stall, turned in the stall with the rider, and now I'm going to finish her off, so to speak. I'm going to warm up her back because it's chilly, but even in the summertime or warm weather, I've noticed fillies, maybe it's because their ovaries, I don't know, their mentality for sure. When you warm up their back, later on I won't have to do that. You can get right on and go out to the shed row and go to the track. But you're planting or you're imprinting a memory. So if you imprint the memory of a colt back affiliated with the colt saddle and with a heavy rider, this is not a good memory for fillies. Anyway, this is how I do it with the fillies for the last 30 years. And I've gotten all of them successfully to their first start, mentally and physically. So it's a mental thing more with fillies. That's why a lot of trainers don't like fillies. You have to finesse the fillies. So here we go.
Schuyler Falls, Burlington at 90.9, in Brattleboro at 94.3, in Rutland at 92.5, and at ppr.net. I'm Walter Parker. Thanks for listening to and supporting Vermont Public Radio. It's 1 o'clock. If you walk through the city of Paris at night, the river is a brooding presence. It flows almost by stealth. American composer Virgil Thompson wrote that the Seine is so deep and its face so quiet that it scarcely seems to move. From APM, American Public Media, this is Performance Today and the Warlock. Thompson wrote this musical portrait of the River Seine seen at night. It's a rarely played 20th century American gem, and we'll hear it from a concert this fall in Cardiff, Wales. Gary Walker conducting the BBC National Orchestra of Wales. The BBC National Orchestra of Wales, the only professional orchestra in the country. They're based in Cardiff, but they play all over Wales and do international tours as well. This is a recording they made with conductor Richard Hickox, a tribute written in 1942 by Edmund Rubro.
Might have been wondering why she was lucky. I wish I got a shot of her coming up the ramp. But she already knows what the saddle is, and she does not think it's a good thing. That was her turns in the stall by someone that did a very good job. But her association, and again, being a filly, is you don't want that mindset. Those don't win races or do years of happy dressage. So we're going to change the mindset, and actually, this is how I've been doing it for decades now. And that way, she affiliates the saddle with her back is warmed up. It's not a weird, scary moment. It's not wham bam, thank you ma'am, kind of boom boom boom. And eventually all horses I was galloping myself every morning, they all, because I didn't want people around that made the horse skimmish. So I taught him to, I got off my muck bucket, and that way when I got to the racetrack, I didn't need a leg up. And remember at Delaware Park once, they were going, how did she get on that big, huge horse? It was a big filly. Well, she was used to it from all her life, broke her off. I stepped off the muck bucket over her back. I didn't use people. It's not that there aren't good people, there are, but when you set a tone, you can pretty much be there for life. I mean, you can temper it and stuff. You don't want that value to go into a race. You don't want anything to do with that value later on, because she'll be more knowledgeable having a cold back and whatnot won't surprise her. She'll also have more muscles over the top line, because I put the top line and the bottom line together before. Usually what makes horses buck and get stupid and pinch nerves and all that fun stuff is they don't have the load-bearing muscles there for the rider. So they're having to make those and have the soreness of the rider. Because in the old days, 40 years ago, when I started breaking horses in 1975, whatever that was, in California, it was about the second, usually the third day, that the horse would get kind of upset. But I figured it out. It didn't take MIT math. The muscles had gotten sore, right? And then indirectly, directly, you're teaching the horse to buck because they don't have the muscles to bear the weight to go out and jog, whatever, and all that. So about 20 years ago, I turned it around. I said, well, I'm going to put some muscles there before I actually get on. Now I would saddle, bridle. She has a mouth. She knows direct, indirect rein, open rein. And she's starting to hold the bit in her mouth herself on the bars of her mouth. And she knows how to come off the leg because of the long reins. So when you get on outside for the first time, you're going to have a pretty straight line. It won't be like the babies going out like this. I have a filly I broke on the line a couple of years ago. Her name was Revelations, and she was even shorter coupled than this. And if she wanted to, then she could have been a devil. But I've gotten, knock on wood, 100% success rate. And that goes for the legs too. Because when they jump around, and they're not only learning psychologically, mentally associating it, they're also putting a lot of concussion on their joints and twisting their fat joints. And then that's how you get tendons. So I'll put this on fairly light. He hunted for old manuscripts. And then next spring, pack her up in the paddock, pull up the girth, and she won't have a cold back. But it's preparing them physically and mentally. And it's important that they trust you first. Like, I've been doing other stuff with her. Well, the long one. So, here's a piece from the early 1700s by Georg Philipp Telemann, a suite in G minor, and by extension, familiar with me. For instance, I had the saddle on the gate, coming up the ramp. She did not want to come up the ramp. So just little things like that. If you prepare a horse and do it in pieces instead of all wham bam thank you ma'am, and you know, like an industrial shed row. Industrial shed rows have to do that. They have 100 horses to get out every morning. How are you going to do it? You have 50 million riders, you have to go wham bam thank you ma'am. I never liked the industrial way, although I worked for it in California and East Coast, and I learned a lot. But I think a lot of good horses fall through the cracks, because ultimately it becomes that you find a horse in spite of the riffraff, or the industrial way of, I call it, the chain gang. So that's my opinion, and so far I've had 100% make it to their first start. So my batting average is way higher than the industrial guys, because most of you people don't see all the horses that never even see the racetrack. They get into problems mentally, usually physically, usually both. You know, really wonderful Nijinsky colt. I paid back in the 80s $750,000 for her. He was buying Nijinsky out of a really great mare, and he never did get him to the track. And those were the heavyweight, big guys. But they learn, these guys learn directly and indirectly. If you're nervous and scared or angry or pushy, or especially the fillies. Fillies can be rock solid. Like, she'll be so consistent and wham bam thank you. once she understands what her job is. They don't like it usually thrown at them. I keep this fairly loose. It's just a shatter roll. I got used to using it. Because I like to see the barometer of their mouth. Maybe for a race I snug it up, but I usually have it on there to encourage them to close their mouth, but not discourage them from using their mouth. Because they tell you if you're going too far with your mouth, your tail, your ears. If you take all the symptoms or guidelines that you can watch how a horse is away, how are you going to read them when they're tired or something's wrong or whatever? So this is just an encouragement to close their mouth and not a discouragement to open their mouth. Good contradiction. So I gradually put it up the hole, and I'm talking to the camera because she doesn't know that you're not standing there physically, but it's relaxing to her. And it's like say la vie, you know? You have to do everything to say la vie. So it's not real snug. So hopefully it's snug enough so it won't come off. Going to hump a little bit. I try not to make a big deal out of it. You make a big deal, they make a big deal. You get your focus on something else. For instance, talking to this camera, her focus is on you. She knows I'm talking to you. So you want to take your focus off themselves as much as possible, especially if they get frantic or something. So it's been some weeks since she's had a girth on. Let me tell you this, filly has some hooves in her. She doesn't like you. But I don't really do anything now. Yeah, she's catching that on. So now she has a saddle on. And so she's making it a gate. Not really taking the outside rein right now because I don't want to make it claustrophobia. She felt in her, the saddle, and just let her get the feeling of it. Remember, say la vie. I'm just telling her with my sounds that she can slow down and relax. So the next few days, that's what I'm going to imprint. Now I'm going to say la vie. Because I would say la vie. Oh. She knows me, that's all. I'm going to say good girl. It's the first time that she's heard that. She already has an association. That's the big thing, association. If your filly or any horse associates with saddle, bridle, whatever your focal point is, the bitter taste, that's what you're going to get. And fillies, racehorse fillies, especially because, like I said earlier, good girl. Now, like I said, bird on the snug snug, I got to put on snug and I the blankets wouldn't come out. It just slipped. But I knew she really was nonchalant, didn't know that the girth was under. So now I'm going to snug it up in a minute. And do it in such a way that it's say la vie. shoulders open so she doesn't feel trapped or, negotiated. On the long range, negotiating more stuff. In a day or two, when it's not a surprise to her, even now she's putting her, lowering her back. So since she started stretching and lowering her back, now when you go the other way, it's like starting all over again. So I'm going to check the curve. I'm going to redo the curve, slip a little. But all this time, redoing the curve, readjusting the saddle, that's again training from the beat, c'est la vie. So you're not wasting your time. The big industrial racehorse guys go, oh, that's too much time. Well, if I take the time now, I slip right by them in the paddock because they're still wrestling, getting the horse saddled for a race, and the horse is fit with 16 quarts of grain diving into the belt. So what I'm going to do is start out the same direction after I readjusted the tack because it slipped a little. And then when I turn, you're going to see she'll have a new feeling on the other side of her gut. So, if she does, it's the same thing. C'est la vie. She goes. See how her ears are. Then after she's say lucky with this, I'm going to get a heavier saddle and heavier saddle. So this filly never associates saddle and or gait with something uncomfortable. And there's only a couple of riders I've met in my life that were able to sit on a horse and be there but not be there. And I really mean that. It sounds like a contradiction. One rider in Louisiana, probably the best one. There was another one from Mexico, and then out of California, about 25 years ago. And he had amazing hands, and it was really remarkable to watch those people balance on really tough riding horses and never get upset or yell, nothing, and they were like invisible on the horse, and the horse just quieted down. This is my stick my shtick that I've used for the last 30 years of raising and training babies. And been really successful for me, so I realized there's a lot of roads to know. And I would like to make this special podcast on filly, thoroughbred filly, your line, filly. Good girl. Look at this. snug. And ended it there. And tomorrow, then she has time to think about it. She's a very smart filly, so the second time with this filly is probably going to be a charm. The good ones are like that. You don't have to do it over and over and over. So it doesn't pass. You'll be used to that. Early, you're training her what she's going to be like in the paddock. She's fit. The other filly is kicking the wall, jumping around, spinning around, and she's going to learn how to stand nice and relaxed and fit. Because I've done a lot of first-time starters, and then 50% of them were fillies. And if you prepare them now for the months to come, you don't end up like what I see on the racetrack too often, or spinning. I even saw a first-time starter racing in Texas, and I was in this stall saddling, the other stall over and got casted into the paddock. You guys are talking. So we'll just make one more turn and that'll do that. Because you want to hit the horse confident, relaxed, and all that stuff. That's the last thing they remember is the first thing they're going to associate with. Yeah, I turned her
playing harpsichord and directing the ensemble called the Concert Français in Utrecht during the music festival in the Netherlands. They played a suite in G minor, written in the early 1700s by composer Philip Telman.
Stretch a little bit.
He was just 21 years old when he founded that group, the Concert Français, back in 1985. His two brothers also played in the ensemble. Mark Fontaine played both flute, and Jerome Fontaine plays the gamba.
Simple. Now I'll untack her up here.
Emmanuel Axe does
They don't like the asphalt down at the barn, so what a good girl. What a good girl. Besides, we tack up in the paddock and tack up in the field a lot, and they should be able to tack up in the middle of anywhere. In a relaxed pose, so maybe she'll go on and be a steeplechaser. It's better to learn how to tack up here. What a good girl. And one more thing before shutting the camera off. See the lipstick? She's dry-mouthed if she's tense. So, we got A+. You had a question about what was that around my gut? She's okay.